Welcome back. Wisconsin's very own Chris Jossert has a track record of delivering powerful messages at the podium and on paper. This Green Bay native's newest true crime book called Railroaded, Framed for Murder, Fighting for Justice chronicles the true story of Sam Sommer, a man who spent 21 years in prison for a murder he says he didn't commit. Chris joins us this morning to talk about what led him to write that book. Thank you so much for driving in.
Yes,
You're from all the way up north now in Appleton.
Yes, thank you for having me this morning. It's an incredible story. It's tragic as well. So here was a 31-year-old man in 1968 in New York who was one of the leading innovators for food service for that whole industry in the Big Apple. He actually opened the first delicatessen on Long Island, employed a lot of immigrants. He was a good man, takes a summer vacation in Florida, and in early summer he comes back to learn that his business partner, who's a relative, who was overseeing his business while he was gone, lent some of his money to what turned out to be a convicted felon and an informant for the police. And that person paid his business partner back with a bounced check. And so long story short, that bounced check got reported to police, and within 2 days, that person was murdered. In less than a week, they pinned that murder on Mr. Sommer. And what was really tragic about the whole situation for his arrest is that there was never a grand jury indictment for his murder. The grand jury dismissed his indictment, so the police kidnapped him in Suffolk County, which is one of two main counties out in Long Island, and they beat him up with phone books and alleged a false confession out of Mr. Sommer for this crime. And it was just on record now, we're looking at this as the longest running fight for exoneration in America, A, 51 years, and B, someone sent to prison without a grand jury indictment. He finds the paperwork for this indictment being tossed out in 2015. So he was released in 91, but he's never been lifted of this injustice off of his shoulders, but he finds this paperwork in a police archives, far eastern part of Long Island, in 2015, because the Freedom of Information Act finally gave him permission to go scour through his paperwork, and he finds a document that was signed a month after he was sent to prison that said grand jury indictment dismissed.
Wow. So
Yeah.
how did you get involved in
Well, real quickly, I serve as the media person for Fox Valley Technical College up in Appleton, and we have a really beautiful public safety training center. It's renowned around the country. It's 80 acres. We train people from all over the world, actually, there. They hosted a Crime Writers Academy, and there was a best-selling crime author who happened to give a speech there, and I got a call from New York City from her publicist who was releasing a book. Next thing you know, during the thank you process of doing some media attention for that author, was hooked up with someone in New York City who worked for this publicist, great-granddaughter of the gentleman who wanted his story told. And that's how I got connected. It was all during the thank you process of this whole Crime Writers Academy. So I've always loved to write, and I jumped right in. My wife and I got to know him over the phone, and we both said, let's just wait a year. Let's get to know him as a person first before casting any judgment on what happened. But it's been quite a ride. Another thing that just recently happened is, in looking through all the documents from what he found that were covered up for many years, he received a check in prison in 1979 for a settlement from Suffolk County that basically admitted they had wrongdoing in their arrest of him. And it was tied back to an appeal that he had won based on no Miranda rights read to him, being beaten up by the police. And all of that was just kind of a wink, wink, look the other way for so many years. But now we have some help out in Long Island from an attorney, pro bono, who's going to give Mr. Sommer one last shot to get his name cleared.
So after all of these clues and getting to know him as a person, that's how you got involved. And we're almost out of time here, so I just want to quickly plug where people can find your book if they want to pick it up.
wildbluepress.com.
Okay.
/railroaded. wildbluepress.com/railroaded. That's also available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
Okay, and we'll put those links up on our website.
Yes.
Thank you so much for coming to talk to us. Such an interesting story, and a Wisconsin native. It's always nice to support people in our own community.